What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Bodacious Rant. Hope everybody's doing good, going into the weekend with some good vibes and everything. I know Bern and I are having some good vibes with a movie that I did not expect to do well, just because the trailers kind of made it look a bit of like a dumpster fire, like a cliche, just a giant money grab. And I am very glad to say that is not the case, to be honest. And we are talking about the latest movie in a franchise that's, I feel like, kind of popular, but not really. It's hit and miss with certain people, and that is Bad Boys Ride or Die, the fourth edition in the Bad Boys movies. This is the second one, directed by Adil and Bilal, who directed the last one, Bad Boys for Life. This is a non-spoiler review, everyone. So if you are planning to watch this movie this weekend, you could definitely watch this and see if it's worth it for you. If you do like the video, give us a like. Ring the bell to stay up to date for notifications, and of course subscribe. We do really appreciate you all, especially with those who've been tuning in for the Furiosa review, which again, thank you all for that. We're really happy with that you guys are enjoying that and getting the conversation going. We really appreciate that. So this one is very similar to the last one, both style-wise and almost plot point-wise, where they both start off with a crazy driving scene. This time it's, Will Smith and Martin Lawrence are starting a new chapter of their lives, essentially. I'm not going to get into it too much, but their old captain, who was played by one of these
Joe Pantoliano.
Pantoliano, exactly.
I always call him Joey Pants, for short.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's a nickname or something that somebody called him. But
Ever since the Matrix days.
The Matrix, he's been in all kinds of stuff over the years. So he's one of those actors he's like a character actor that's like very well known, kind of like Steve Buscemi, but I feel like doesn't get his credit so much sometimes. But he deserves it. Anyways,
yeah.
His character, Captain Howard, who died in the last movie, spoiler for those of you who haven't seen Bad Boys for Life, he is now being accused of working with cartels for decades. And if you've seen the movies, for Bad Boys fans, that's not possible. And neither do Marcus Burnett and Mike Lowry believe in that. So they go through a whole investigation to clear the captain's name and end up becoming fugitives in the process. And this one featured another really solid cast. I think definitely a little bit more star-studded than the last one. Because the last one we did get Vanessa Hudgens, Alexander Ludwig, I forgot a couple other people and stuff like that. But this one, we have them coming back, Vanessa Hudgens, Alexander Ludwig from the last one. We're joined by Eric Dane from Euphoria, Valentine's Day, and a slew of other things. And pretty much just a bunch of other casts. DJ Khaled comes back, which is hilarious. I'm not going to say how, but...
Ian Grufford as well.
Ian Grufford, yeah. That was a guy I was like, man, I'm glad to see he's doing something again, because I haven't seen him in anything in a long time. And he was one of my favorite actors growing up, because he was in King Arthur, Fantastic Four. Not the best movies, mind you, but they were great for
Peak Marvel.
Yeah, pretty much. Peak Marvel and Sword and Sandals storytelling at the time. Yeah, and this one's very interesting because, again, the trailers made it look like a cliche story. Like, I feel like every story about a cop or law enforcement, something like that, there's always a point in those franchises where the characters get involved, they become fugitives. I don't know.
On the run.
Yeah, I don't know if that's necessarily the best trend, but at the same time, I guess you got to be a villain at some point. Like Two-Face said, you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. So, and I had a lot of fun with it. Before, I've talked enough, Bern. What did you think about this movie? I know we both were talking about how this movie looked like garbage, but are you pleasantly surprised as well, or what'd you think?
I mean, yeah, I was a non-believer coming into this one because, I really enjoyed the last one, and I thought the last one could have been like, a good note to end on if they wanted to do like a trilogy type of thing. But I never thought that was actually going to be the case, because with a lot of these, franchises, it's like, yeah, we're not stopping at 3. We're going to keep on going until people decide to stop watching them. So the last one was a surprise, and it was a lot of fun. And I think what it introduced really well was the fact that in that last movie they really focused on Marcus and Mike as characters, giving them dimension and giving them more to work with other than just being action heroes who throw quips at each other, and the camaraderie of the two just kind of carries the whole thing. Because if you look back on the plots of the first two movies, it's just kind of a hodgepodge of things happening, just excuses for some really cool action sequences, which of course Michael Bay really nailed. But in the last movie, we did get a lot more character stuff with them, and I really did enjoy that. And just as a coherent piece of movie making, the last one kind of surpasses the other two in that sense. I wouldn't say in the action sense at all, but in the terms of narrative and characters, it did. So coming into this one, I was worried that they would sort of undo all that in a way, because like you mentioned from the trailers, it looked like it was just going to be a big action and bloated mess, and it wasn't that at all. And I was very surprised by that they continued sort of the focus on character that was introduced in the last movie, and this time exploring a different I would say a different shift in their dynamics of the two. I won't go into it too much, but what they do with these two characters and sort of flipping the dynamic that they have in this movie, I thought it worked really well. In particular with Martin Lawrence, his Marcus has a lot more to work with this time around. I feel like in the last movie he got a little bit overshadowed, but in this one he has a lot to work with, and he definitely stole the show for me. In terms of the comedic beats and also the character beats, and yeah, giving Mike Laurie like a lot more dimension. This time, obviously, we found out in the last one, that he was a father, and in this one, they do a little bit more exploration of that, just because in the last movie we did find that out and we saw him reckon with that, but this time we get to see him deal with that a little bit more forwardly, since he knows from the beginning this time around. So that was really nice. Where the movie does falter a little bit for me is in the side characters. I did appreciate, Vanessa Hudgens and Alexander Ludwig and Paula Nunez, coming back from the last movie. I just wish they had a little bit more to do, in particular with Paula Nunez, who I thought was a standout in the last movie. And here her role seems a little bit regressed this time around. So that was a little bit of a bummer. And also with Alexander Ludwig and Vanessa Hudgens as well. But the big one for me is the character that Rhea Seehorn plays in this movie. I'm a big fan of hers from the Better Call Saul show. And it felt like the movie didn't really know what to do with her character. She just kind of shows up and does things, and it doesn't really. There's not a lot of connective tissue there. And also with Eric Dane as the villain in this movie, his motivations weren't really all that clear, and he was just kind of this like evil mustache twirling villain that just did bad things just to seemingly do them. But it does provide a good excuse to get Marcus and Mike to do their bad boys thing. So I will say this movie does sort of take a step back in terms of the story front of it, but it is really where the characters. The character, Marcus and Mike, their dynamic really shines in this one, and like I said, in particular, Marcus.
That's very fair. I will respectfully disagree with Eric Dane's character, just because from the plot. Just again from the plot, I definitely want to see this again just to get just to let it marinate more. His motivations definitely made somewhat sense, but at the same time, I will say he didn't have the most range as a villain. He was pretty one note, so I do see your criticism on that. And Rhea Seehorn's, yeah, again, the side characters are definitely a little bit more one note in this time around, just because I think they shifted the focus more towards Martin Lawrence and Will Smith, kind of like how you were saying that it was more about their characters and the growth that they're going through in their own individual way. I will say the ones, no, I can't say which side character gets the most the most glow up, because that's going to be too big of a spoiler. And I'm sorry I was laughing when you were talking earlier. It's just when you said they're just going to keep making them. I just thought of when we were at Mission Impossible, or I forgot what movie it was, Quiet Place. I was like, how many more are they going to make? It like, Adeli's dead. I was like, Jesus. But yeah, the only thing that I will say that was lacking for me, I think some of the jokes and stuff didn't quite land, and then there was kind of like the middle portion that it was it was kind of junky in a way. There was a little too much fluff going on. It wasn't as clear cut as it could have been, but with it being a fugitive story, it's kind of going to get all over the place just because the characters don't know who to trust. They don't know where to go. They're on their own. They're on the opposite side of the fence, or the opposite side of the black and white cab, really, if you want to look at it that way. So, um, with all that being said, though, I've been really thinking about, since I saw it the other day, like, what do I want to rate this? And honestly, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5, just because I think this is another sequel in a franchise that, while I do like the first two, looking back, they are pretty outdated and almost don't last that well. The second one kind of more so, but Michael Bay's writers, man, they just don't know how to write good characters without creating so many stereotypes left and right. Where Adil and Bilal, they definitely have a better grasp on the characters and how to make something relevant to today's standards. So I think the action was great. The comedy lands pretty well for the most part, especially if you have a good theater that really contributes to that, especially that big character moment I want to talk about so much, but I can't. So I definitely recommend it. IMAX, regular theater, what have you. This is definitely a fun one to kick off summer, in all honesty.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, where the comedy didn't work for you as much. I mean, I really enjoyed a lot of the comedy. So yeah, again, like different tastes for different people. But for me, the thing that was a little bit more hit or miss, more hit for sure than miss, was the action, and it was in the filming of it. I will say, the movie. It seems like the directors were trying to bring in their own flair, much like how Michael Bay did, with his two movies. It seems like they're trying to do their own stylistic thing in this one, and it didn't always work for me. I think the use of like drone shots in this movie got a little bit excessive at some points, and it seems like movies are starting to do that lately. Like bringing interweaving drone footage with like other like regular cinematic filmmaking, and I think it doesn't always work the best for me. And, in this time, I was like, I would have much rather seen this scene play out traditionally than with, the drone shot that kind of like flies through, and it kind of makes things a little bit incoherent at times. So I didn't love that aspect of it, but a lot of the other more practical things that we do see in the movie did really work. And as you mentioned, there's a very big standout moment, and I would say one of the best cinematic payoffs that we've gotten, and was completely unexpected. And I won't say more than that, but for sure my theater loved it as well, and I really did enjoy it too. So yeah, I mean, this movie, for me, it's going to be a 3 out of 5. It does what the last movie did pretty well. Takes a few steps back in some aspects that I mentioned, but also does a few things better than the last one did. Like you were talking, you and I were saying beforehand, it's much like Bad Boys 1 and Bad Boys 2, how people, with different opinions of which one they liked more. And I think that'll be the case too with these last couple of movies. Do you like For Life better or Ride or Die better? And I think each movie does something better than the other. So I think as a duo, it is a franchise that continues to entertain at the very least. And I think if you're looking for a fun action movie with, really great character dynamics and some fun comedy, this one's going to be it for you. So yeah, 3 out of 5 for me.
Very fair. And actually, I will kind of recant my criticism. I think it's just more along the plot, how it, like mostly the middle part of the whole story. That's kind of where it faltered for me, where I was kind of like, I don't know if I really buy into this, or it was kind of predictable. But the comedy, yeah, overall, there was probably just a couple jokes that didn't land for me. But it was definitely funnier than the last one. I've been rewatching Bad Boys for Life just because boredom, and it's a good movie, but I was kind of prepping for this one. I'm like, yeah, this one's definitely a little bit funnier. So yeah, absolutely. For those of you who do plan on watching this, or if you have already watched it, let us know what you thought in the comments. We'd love to get that conversation going, and just keep contributing to the views. We really appreciate you all for that. And yeah, like now we're in the summer season, so looking forward to you guys joining us along with all the good content coming out. And until next time, everyone, just stay bodacious and keep on ranting for us.
Absolutely, everybody. Be good, be safe, and as always, we'll catch y'all on the next one.